it isn't news that the children of all ages in grade school, as young as grade school, I've heard recently even in kindergarten and on through high school, are having to deal on a daily basis with bullying. And whether that's physical bullying or social media bullying, and we've seen lots of cases on the news of that and the devastating consequences. And not only, again, for the one being bullied, but for the one who seems to feel that they have to bully. And because everyone needs help, everyone needs that practice of pause. And there's a lot of frustration and anger and angst, and then some of it goes back to the family, and then the teachers are having to deal with it. And so the teachers some teachers have been introduced to the Pause for Inspiration material, the card, and they are using it and seeing its value. And so bullying is a big project, and also peer pressure. You know, when we all remember when we were kids and you felt that you were under peer pressure, and to recognize, you know, that I have a choice, and that I'm my own person here. I can choose what groups of friends I want to hang out with, and I have my own mind, I have my own heart, I have my own body, and I can make choices. And also, how much of anxiety can build up in one's mind. We all know that even as adults. Well, children experience that same thing, that same buildup of anxiety for any number of reasons. And so the pause is just a way to step back and relax. And we've already had stories of people using it for test anxiety and being able to relax and focus more because they know that they can pause. So it's, bullying, peer pressure, test anxiety, making clear decisions, and recognizing, what happens, I think, at all ages, but we tend to say, it's just children, but it really is adults as well, is there's a tendency to, be like this right away without really thinking first what might have been the better thing to say or do, or not say or not do. And so this is just teaching children how to pause. And that's another question, is we use the word pause when we say, pause, but many of us have to be taught, well, how do I pause? And when would be a good time to pause? So this is actually practicing the pause and going into the schools and teaching the children, okay, say you're sitting at your desk and you notice that you're feeling really kind of anxious and you're looking at the clock and you can't seem to focus and concentrate anymore. How could you pause? What would be a way that you could pause? And maybe it's just teaching the child to put their feet flat on the floor and just take a breath. And maybe even it's okay to close their eyes for a few seconds and just put their hand over their heart or their belly, or just kind of tune into themselves for a minute, and then say, okay, everything's all right, check in, all is well, and just reassure themselves and calm themselves, and then come back to the classroom and be able to be present to the teacher and to learn.
That's a good point that you brought up with the teacher and parents, because as you were speaking, I was thinking this is not only of help to the kids, but to a domino effect of everyone involved, right? It could be easier parenting because their kids are more receptive, more open, because they're pausing and they're having this work. And teachers will have an easier time, I think, as well. So I think that it's beneficial not only to the kids, but also to everything that surrounds them, right? Because it's gonna spread.
Right, that whole educational system, exactly. It involves everyone. It involves the whole community. It involves the parents and the teachers and the kids, and we all need to be involved. And it's not about pointing the finger at a bad parent or a bad teacher or a bad kid. It's that we all have an opportunity to be inspired, to be our best selves.
Yeah. I mean, I think you remember too, because you were also, young and in school, and I remember there was a lot of peer pressure, a lot of bullying. I remember, at one time being depressed. So I'm sure there's a lot of, kids that are depressed that this could even help with. So also bring more peace, and I think even save lives. Even save lives.
Well, and that brings up the suicide, the increased rate of suicide, and the drug addiction, and the numerous problems then that brings on in the family. And I was speaking actually to some adults recently about bullying, and I never really had this thought that all of the adults that are walking around who were bullied as children, and they're still carrying around this pain and suffering. And I was just speaking to a gentleman, in fact, recently, and he said he was still kind of dealing with it. And then what happens is then the child who is bullied or is the one bullying still carries that behavior and that mindset on into their adult lives, and they become adults, and they become employers and employees and business owners, and so, you know, it affects on down the line. It is not just an isolated problem, it is a social problem, and it's an interpersonal issue and a personal issue, and it really, there's, I'm not saying the pause is the end all and be all, but it's a helpful tool, and it's an easily accessible and useful, easy to use tool for anyone.